Listen carefully. There is a silent war taking place inside your mind every single day. Most people never realize they are fighting it because the enemy never stands in front of them. It speaks from within. It tells them to wait until tomorrow. It tells them they are too tired. It tells them they are not ready. It convinces them that comfort is wisdom and that fear is caution. Little by little, they surrender without even noticing. Then they wonder why years pass while their lives remain exactly the same. The disturbing truth is this: your greatest enemy has never been the world. It has never been your circumstances. It has never been the people who doubted you. It has always been the part of your own mind that refuses to obey you. The Stoics understood something that modern society has almost forgotten. They knew that the human mind is a remarkable servant, but a dangerous ruler. Left without discipline, it becomes addicted to comfort, controlled by emotion, and distracted by every passing desire. It whispers excuses that sound intelligent. It disguises weakness as self-care. It transforms procrastination into careful planning. Marcus Aurelius knew this better than anyone. Although he ruled an empire, every morning he reminded himself that the greatest kingdom he would ever govern was the one inside his own mind. He understood that if he lost control of his thoughts, no amount of external power could save him. Think about your own life. How many decisions have you delayed because your mind convinced you the timing was wrong? How many opportunities disappeared because fear spoke louder than reason? How many promises have you made to yourself only to break them when your emotions changed? Every broken promise teaches your mind one dangerous lesson: that it is stronger than you. Now imagine something different. Imagine waking up every morning without arguing with yourself. Imagine making a decision and following through without hesitation. Imagine your attention going exactly where you choose, your emotions serving your purpose instead of controlling it, and your thoughts becoming tools instead of chains. This is not fantasy. This is what Stoicism was designed to create. In this video, you will discover 7 timeless Stoic lessons that will teach you how to master your mind before it masters you. These lessons are not meant to comfort you. They are meant to transform the way you think, act, and live. Because the day your mind finally accepts that you, not your emotions, not your impulses, not your fears, are in command, everything changes. Lesson 1. Stop believing every thought. The greatest mistake most people make is assuming that every thought inside their mind deserves to be trusted. It doesn't. The mind produces thousands of thoughts every day. Some are useful, some are irrational. Some are driven by fear. Others are shaped by old experiences that no longer reflect reality. Yet most people never question any of them. A thought appears. I can't do this. Immediately they believe it. Another thought whispers, what if you fail? Again, they accept it without resistance. Soon those thoughts become beliefs. Those beliefs become habits, and those habits quietly become an identity. The Stoics refused to live this way. Epictetus taught that people are disturbed not by events themselves, but by the judgments they make about those events. That single idea changes everything. It means your suffering often begins long before reality has spoken. Imagine standing beside a cloudy lake. When the wind is violent, the water becomes impossible to see through. Every reflection is distorted. Your mind behaves the same way. When emotion takes over, every thought appears convincing. Fear tells you disaster is coming. Anger convinces you revenge is necessary. Anxiety insists something terrible is about to happen. But none of those thoughts are facts. They are only waves disturbing the surface. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to pause before accepting the first interpretation his mind offered. He understood that the first reaction is often emotional, while wisdom arrives only after observation. Most people never create that pause. Someone criticizes them. Instantly they become defensive. something goes wrong. Instantly they assume everything is falling apart. One setback convinces them they are failures. One rejection convinces them they are unworthy. Notice what happened. Reality didn't defeat them. Their interpretation did. Mastering your mind begins with creating space between a thought and your response. The next time your mind tells you, "You'll never succeed," don't answer immediately. Observe it. Ask yourself, "Is this true? What evidence supports this? Would I say this to someone I love?" You will discover something remarkable. Many of the thoughts that have controlled your life cannot survive a few seconds of honest examination. They depend on automatic obedience. The moment you begin questioning them, they lose their authority. That is why awareness is the first act of self-mastery. You cannot control a mind you never observe. The strongest people are not those who never experience fear or doubt. They are the people who refuse to let those thoughts become commands. Because your thoughts may visit you, but only you decide which ones are allowed to stay. Lesson 2. Discipline begins where feelings end. One of the greatest lies the modern world teaches is that you should only act when you feel motivated. Wait until inspiration comes. Wait until confidence appears. Wait until everything feels right. The Stoics would have called this a dangerous illusion. If your actions depend on your feelings, your life will always belong to your emotions. And emotions are constantly changing. One morning you feel unstoppable. The next morning you feel exhausted. One day your goals excite you. The next day they seem impossible. If you obey every emotional change, consistency becomes impossible. Imagine a captain steering a ship across a violent sea. Would he change direction every time the wind shifted? Of course not. He follows the destination, not the weather. Your emotions are the weather. Your principles are the destination. Most people reverse the two. They let temporary feelings decide permanent outcomes. Marcus Aurelius never asked whether he felt like carrying the weight of an empire. Duty came first. Feelings came later. This is why discipline is one of the highest Stoic virtues. It frees you from emotional slavery. Think about every meaningful achievement in your life. The days that shaped your future were probably not the days when you felt amazing. They were the days you acted despite feeling tired, despite feeling uncertain, despite wanting to quit. Those moments built your character far more than any burst of motivation ever could. The mind hates discipline because discipline removes its ability to negotiate. It whispers, "Just today. You've earned a break. You can start again tomorrow." Each excuse sounds harmless, but the mind is learning from every surrender. Every delay strengthens hesitation. Every broken promise weakens authority. Soon your own mind begins expecting you to quit. That is one of the most dangerous places a person can reach. Because once your mind stops believing your decisions, every future commitment becomes harder. The Stoics understood that authority must be earned. Every time you act despite discomfort, you prove something to yourself. You prove that your word carries weight. You prove that your purpose is stronger than your mood. You prove that emotions no longer sit on the throne. At first, discipline feels heavy. The resistance seems endless. Your mind fights back with excuses, so convincing they almost sound wise. But each time you refuse to obey them, something invisible begins to happen. The excuses become quieter. The hesitation becomes shorter. The action becomes faster. Eventually, there comes a day when you no longer argue with yourself. You simply begin. Not because it suddenly became easy, but because your mind finally learned who is giving the orders. Lesson 3. Master the voice that seeks comfort. There is a voice inside every human being that wants the easiest path. It tells you to stay where it is safe. It tells you to avoid difficulty. It promises that comfort will protect you. But the Stoics discovered something most people never realize. Comfort rarely protects you. It weakens you. The strange thing about comfort is that it never announces its true cost. It doesn't arrive looking dangerous. It arrives disguised as relief. Skip today's work. Sleep a little longer. Ignore the difficult conversation. Avoid the challenge. No single decision seems important. Yet thousands of small decisions quietly build a life. Imagine watching a river carve its way through solid stone. The water is soft. The rock is hard. Yet year after year, the water wins through repetition. Comfort works the same way. It slowly reshapes your character until avoiding difficulty becomes automatic. One day you realize you are no longer making decisions. Your habits are making them for you. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that life does not become meaningful through ease. It becomes meaningful through responsibility. Every difficult task is an opportunity to strengthen the part of yourself that comfort is trying to destroy. Think about a sword. It is not forged in a cool room. It is forged inside intense heat, hammered, folded, tested again and again. Human character follows the same law. Pressure does not create weakness. It reveals it. And if you willingly face small discomforts every day, your mind slowly learns that hardship is not something to fear. It is something to welcome. Most people spend their lives asking, "How can I make this easier?" The Stoic asks a different question. How can this make me stronger? That single shift changes everything. The difficult workout becomes training for discipline. The uncomfortable conversation becomes training for courage. The long hours of focused work become training for mastery. Nothing is wasted. Every challenge becomes another opportunity to teach the mind that comfort no longer decides your future. Notice how your mind behaves whenever something difficult appears. It immediately begins calculating escape routes. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe later. Maybe when conditions improve. The mind loves perfect timing, because perfect timing rarely arrives. The Stoics acted anyway. They understood that action creates clarity. Waiting creates doubt. The more you postpone discomfort, the larger it becomes inside your imagination. But the moment you move toward it, something surprising happens. It begins shrinking. The monster that seemed impossible to face becomes manageable. Not because it changed, because you changed. This is how the mind is trained. Not through speeches, not through inspiration, through repeated proof that discomfort no longer has authority over your decisions. Eventually, the voice of comfort grows quieter. It still speaks, but it no longer commands. Instead, another voice begins growing stronger. The voice that says, "You have survived difficult things before. You can survive this too." That is the voice of discipline, and every courageous action feeds it. If these lessons are already changing the way you see your own mind, take a moment to subscribe and join this community. Every week we explore timeless Stoic wisdom that helps you build discipline, emotional strength, and complete control over yourself. Now, let's continue. Lesson 4. Become stronger than your emotions. Most people believe emotions are meant to be followed. The Stoics believed they were meant to be understood. There is an enormous difference. An emotion is like a visitor knocking on your door. Sometimes it brings useful information. Sometimes it brings confusion. But opening the door does not mean handing over the keys to your house. Imagine a kingdom ruled by whichever citizen happened to shout the loudest. One day, anger controls the laws. The next day, fear takes the throne. Then pride. Then jealousy. The kingdom would collapse within weeks. Yet countless people allow their inner world to operate exactly this way. Every emotion becomes an order. Every feeling becomes a command. No stability, no direction, only reaction. Marcus Aurelius understood that emotions are temporary. Character is permanent. That is why he focused on strengthening character instead of chasing pleasant feelings. Think back to the moments you regret the most, the words you wish you had never spoken, the decisions you wish you had never made. How many of them happened while emotion was in control? Anger demanded revenge. Fear demanded retreat. Pride demanded recognition. The emotion lasted minutes. The consequences lasted years. This is why mastering your mind requires emotional patience. When emotion rises, pause. Observe it. Do not suppress it. Do not obey it. Simply watch it. Like dark clouds passing across the sky. Clouds never become the sky itself. They simply move through it. Your emotions are the same. They pass, but only if you stop feeding them with impulsive action. The strongest person is not someone who never feels anger. It is someone who refuses to become anger. The strongest leader is not someone without fear. It is someone who acts wisely despite fear. That is the difference between emotional slavery and emotional mastery. Every time you respond instead of react, your mind learns another lesson. Feelings may arrive without permission, but actions still require yours. That is real freedom. Not controlling what you feel, controlling what you do next. Lesson 5. Keep every promise you make to yourself. There is something more valuable than confidence. Trust. Specifically, the trust you have in yourself. Most people unknowingly destroy it little by little. They promise to wake up early. They don't. They promise to exercise. They don't. They promise to stop procrastinating. Again, they don't. After enough broken promises, something invisible begins happening. The mind stops believing them. Imagine working for a leader who breaks every promise they make. Would you follow them into battle? Would you trust their instructions? Of course not. Your own mind works exactly the same way. Every broken commitment weakens your authority. Every kept commitment strengthens it. This is why confidence cannot be built through positive thinking alone. Confidence is evidence. It is your mind looking at your past actions and deciding whether your words still have value. Marcus Aurelius earned that confidence every day. Not through grand speeches, not through dramatic victories, through consistent action. He became the kind of man whose behavior matched his principles. That is what your mind is waiting to see. Not perfection. Consistency. Start smaller than your pride wants. Finish what you begin. Keep simple promises. Read the page. Take the walk. Complete the task. Show up again tomorrow. These actions seem insignificant, but your mind is paying attention. Every completed promise becomes another piece of evidence. Eventually, your identity begins changing. You stop saying, "I hope I become disciplined." Instead, your actions quietly declare, "I am someone who finishes what I start." That sentence changes everything, because identity always grows from repeated behavior. Long before the world trusts your discipline, your own mind must trust it first. And that trust is earned one promise at a time. Lesson 6. Rule your attention or lose your life. There is one treasure every human being receives in equal measure. Not money, not talent, not opportunity, attention. Every day you wake up with a limited amount of it. Every thought you entertain, every distraction you follow, and every pointless argument you engage in spends a portion of that treasure. The tragedy is that most people never notice where it goes. The Stoics understood that your life becomes whatever repeatedly captures your attention. Think about that for a moment. Your attention determines your thoughts. Your thoughts shape your actions. Your actions build your character, and your character creates your destiny. Everything begins with where your mind chooses to rest. Imagine a kingdom protected by a single gate. Every visitor must pass through it before entering the city. A wise king carefully examines every person who approaches. He knows that one dangerous visitor can destroy what took years to build. Now imagine another king who leaves the gate wide open. Anyone may enter. Thieves, traitors, enemies. It would only be a matter of time before the kingdom collapsed. Your mind has a gate. That gate is your attention. Every headline, every notification, every meaningless comparison, every negative conversation, every unnecessary worry, they all ask for permission to enter. Most people never question them. They simply allow everything inside. Then they wonder why their minds feel restless. Marcus Aurelius lived in a world filled with wars, political betrayal, disease, and uncertainty. Yet he repeatedly reminded himself to guard his attention. He understood that while he could not control every event around him, he could always choose what deserved space inside his mind. That lesson is even more important today. Modern life is designed to steal your attention. Every application competes for it. Every advertisement demands it. Every distraction promises instant pleasure while quietly weakening your ability to focus. The longer you surrender your attention, the harder it becomes to control your own mind. That is why mastering your mind begins with protecting what enters it. Ask yourself, before giving something your attention, will this make me stronger? Will this move me closer to the person I want to become? If the answer is no, walk away. Not everything deserves your awareness. Not every opinion deserves your response. Not every battle deserves your energy. The Stoic does not react to everything because the Stoic understands that attention is life itself. Where attention goes, life follows. Every moment you reclaim your focus is another victory over the mind that once wandered without purpose. Slowly, your thoughts become quieter. Your decisions become clearer. Your actions become intentional. And for the first time, your attention begins working for you instead of against you. That is when the mind starts serving its rightful master. Lesson 7. Become the person your mind cannot defeat. There comes a moment when knowledge is no longer enough. You already know what you should do. You know the habits that would improve your life. You know the distractions that are holding you back. You know the excuses that keep appearing. The problem is no longer information. The problem is identity. Most people think discipline is something they occasionally perform. The Stoics saw it differently. Discipline is someone you become. Imagine trying to build a stone temple. Would one stone be enough? Of course not. The temple exists because thousands of stones were placed one after another. Character is built exactly the same way. Every difficult decision is another stone. Every promise kept is another stone. Every temptation resisted is another stone. Individually, they appear insignificant. Together, they create someone entirely different. Marcus Aurelius did not become mentally strong because of one extraordinary day. He became mentally strong because ordinary days were filled with extraordinary consistency. He chose patience when anger was easier. He chose duty when comfort was more attractive. He chose wisdom when emotion demanded control. Those choices became his identity. Your mind is watching you in exactly the same way. Every action is evidence. Every excuse is evidence. Every courageous decision is evidence. Your mind quietly asks one question at the end of every day. Who is this person becoming? If your actions repeatedly say, "I quit when things become difficult," your mind believes it. If your actions repeatedly say, "I keep my word regardless of how I feel," your mind believes that instead. The remarkable truth is that your mind always follows the identity you consistently demonstrate. Stop trying to convince yourself that you are disciplined. Become someone who repeatedly acts with discipline. Stop trying to convince yourself that you are courageous. Become someone who repeatedly chooses courage. Stop waiting until you feel like a different person. Become a different person through repeated action. Eventually, something extraordinary happens. The arguments inside your head begin disappearing. The excuses lose their influence. The hesitation becomes shorter. Not because life suddenly became easy, but because your identity became stronger than your impulses. The battle that once exhausted you every morning quietly fades away. Your mind already knows the answer before it asks. It knows you will keep your word. It knows you will finish the work. It knows you will choose purpose over comfort. That is true mastery. Not forcing yourself every day. Becoming someone who no longer needs to be forced. For years, you may have believed that your greatest obstacle was other people. Perhaps you blamed circumstances. Perhaps you blamed bad luck. Perhaps you blamed the opportunities you never received. But now you have seen what the Stoics understood centuries ago. The greatest battle has always been within. Your mind can become your greatest ally, or it can become the prison that quietly limits every part of your life. The choice has never belonged to fate. It has always belonged to you. Every excuse you reject strengthens your character. Every distraction you ignore sharpens your focus. Every promise you keep earns the trust of your own mind. These victories are invisible to the world. No one applauds them. No one celebrates them. Yet these quiet moments are the ones that shape extraordinary lives. Remember what Marcus Aurelius understood. You do not need to control everything that happens around you. You only need to master the one thing that determines how you respond. Your own mind. Because when your mind finally accepts that comfort is no longer the ruler, when fear is no longer the decision maker, when discipline becomes part of your identity, freedom begins. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, the freedom to become everything you were capable of becoming. And that is the greatest victory any human being can ever achieve. If this video helped you see your own mind differently, subscribe for more timeless lessons from Stoic philosophy. Until next time, remember this: the world may challenge your body. People may challenge your patience. Circumstances may challenge your plans. But nothing can truly defeat you once your mind finally learns who is in command.